Welcome to Red Essay Season 2. This time around, instead of hearing me flap my gums about Native events and the things that I love, you're going to hear from Natives across the country whom have demonstrated their ability to be leaders. So leaders is our theme for Red Essay Season 2, and showing the general public that Natives are leaders and they transcend that role of the victims that you often read about in history books. And we continue to pursue greatness through our Native leadership. So here's my chance to highlight some of them whom are active today, people I've had the privilege to get to know and even call my friends. These are the leaders in the political arena, leaders within their Native communities, or simply entrepreneurs, or plainly just knocking it out of the park and leading in the game of life. So without much more talk from me, here's Red Essay Season 2. Enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Red Essay. Today we're happy to have Jacquie Archambeau here with us. She's been my friend for the last couple of years. A little bit about Jacquie. She sits on the board for CNCA, that's the Cherokee Nation Community Association. That's huge, especially for the At Large community. She started way out in the Bay Area, so more like my neck of the woods, and she helped establish that group out there, and now she's doing the same thing out in Chicago. So she's got a whole wealth of information to share. I'm really excited to have her on. And without further ado, here's Jacquie.
Growing up, I had a pretty tight family. We were extended. We had close connections to our Cherokee family in Oklahoma. And as years went on, the elders started dying off and some of the distant cousins lost contact. And, so that connection kind of shrunk. And we lived overseas in Singapore for some time, and when I came back, it just kind of hit me. It's like, where's my family? Where's my Cherokee community? And so I was really hungry for that, and so we reestablished, close connections with the cousins and extended, the family and friends, in the Cherokee Nation. But locally, there was nothing outside of family. And, when Julia came out with Cherokee Nation history course, suddenly you're in a room with about 40 other Cherokees that I had no idea existed in my area. And that was phenomenal. It was at that point, then I could see what we could do. And that was such a gift. And that's what happened, was first attending that course with, people that were to become my friends and family and community, and then us organizing.
Oh, that's great. And then what was it like getting the group off ground as far as going from that point in a class full of Cherokees to meeting on a regular basis?
Well, it's wonderful, but there are so many challenges. I think the first challenge that everybody needs to recognize is that it takes time. It's going to take a lot of time to, to become a really stable, vibrant community. And I think if everybody kind of knows that going in, then, you're going to be successful. But it was exciting to, make the connections with other Cherokees in the area.
And in those first few years, what was the support that you felt like from the Cherokee Nation? Julia,
Coase, and Jack Baker are at-large representatives. They did send us a little bit of financial support. That was, in the early times, to help us. And that was really important because one of the other challenges that at-large communities have is the cost of venues, and, things such as, setting up maybe a voicemail account. There are costs that go into it. And until you have an established membership who are paying dues, these things are hard to support. So they helped us that way, and that was wonderful. And also there was some programming that was sent out by the Cherokee Nation. Some of it was cultural or history, sometimes language, and then the big event was the Cherokee picnic that would happen once a year. And those really helped to build membership and to get the word out that, hey, there is a local Cherokee community that you can get involved with.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting point. So you now have established a local Cherokee community. What are the goals of the community? Is it to reconnect more with the Cherokee Nation? Is it to support them, or is it to kind of build what you have in the Bay Area, or both?
Well, they're both really important because a lot of the people who live outside the nation, really want to make that connection, not only with the local Cherokees, but to find, their families back there, or to, just to get involved in the nation. Some of the best things that I've witnessed in, working with the at-large group is when people in the at-large community are able to connect with long-lost family that they have in the nation or other places around the United States, and to hear those stories. And when we're making those connections, it's really, making that bridge between, the 14 counties and the at-large population. It's like, hey, we're all Cherokee, and it starts breaking down a lot of those misconceptions. And that really makes the work wonderful.
Could you talk a little bit? I mean, there's probably a long list of misconceptions, but some of the biggest ones?
There is a long list, and a lot of them, are starting to fall along the way, which is good. Back in the beginning, we would receive, like emails and threats, from different people. I'm not really sure what their agenda was or is, but I think there's a certain amount of fear. There's rumors. Well, they're getting funding that they shouldn't be getting. We got a tiny bit in the beginning, but that's been kind of it. And, that somehow we're getting more, or that we're not really Cherokee. Or it's a political thing. Those are kind of the big ones. And, and so everybody's perception and how they react to us, stems from those things.
And do you think the not really Cherokee is blood quantum or looks, or just because you're living outside of the tribe?
It's all of those. Yeah, it's really interesting. Some people will definitely go with a blood quantum because I believe that, that's something that almost instilled in everybody, especially in the dominant society. People will always ask how much. That's the first question they'll ask. How much are you, or what part are you? So there's always that education process going on with that. And yeah, living in the at-large, I was the first person in my family born outside of the Cherokee Nation, so I was lucky, to have, continuing contact where many don't, their family moved out, away from the Cherokee people many generations ago. And so, they're still struggling to make contact. So we all come in with different stories, and I think a lot of people don't understand that we all have a story, and they're all going to be different, but they are a Cherokee story.
Just actually about a week ago, I went with my aunt, who's definitely, has a much more darker complexion than I, and we walked into a museum, and I showed my tribal card, because I think they just needed some identification, and she said Cherokee Nation. Oh, I would have never guessed that you were Native, and I hear that, and at first it's always a little discouraging, and I typically shrug it off, but it'll pop its head every once in a while. Now, do you have any advice for somebody who wants to get involved but is facing that issue of like, well, I don't really look it. And, how do I feel about that?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I do hear this a lot. I haven't really experienced that so much personally, but I do know that it is a big issue for a lot of people. And, every individual knows who they are, and they need to stand in that. But But that being said, a lot of people that want to join these groups, they'll say to me, well, I'm afraid I don't look Indian enough. And and I say to them, well, have you looked at the pictures of us? We come in all different colors and sizes and shapes. This is what we look like. And so, I welcome anybody to come and they'll see that there is a place for them, and we're not thinking about those things. But, unfortunately, I do know that this does happen to people along the way, and it is hurtful. I mean, that's really the bottom line. It's hurtful when people are laying some judgment on you based on their own perception and not a reality.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And then, so as you, you mentioned that you were born outside of the Cherokee Nation, and as you grew up and created a family, what was it like having a family that trying to kind of steer them to get involved with the Cherokee Nation as well, and stay close to the nation? Well,
it takes a lot of work for sure. You want to lead by example. Mm-hmm. So my children see that I'm volunteering with the Cherokees, and we're going to attend, the events, and, we would take them to visit their relatives back in Oklahoma, and, and one time they were actually in the parade, the National Holiday Parade, and those things too, if you're able to do that, are really binding with the children and your family. This is who we are. Mm-hmm. And that's a beauty of the at-large satellites too, where a lot of people can't go back, to Oklahoma to Tahlequah in person, but they can do that in their local community.
Right. Yeah, and I think that you hit a lot of good points. I mean, lead by example, and obviously sometimes we can't get out to the holiday, and so being able to do that kind of thing here is huge. Could you talk a little bit about going from working in a smaller community, San Francisco is not a small community, but one of the satellite communities, and getting recruited, I guess, getting put on a position at the CNCA, Cherokee Nation Community Association, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so getting a place there and, doing similar work but on a much larger stage, and what process was that, and what are your thoughts on stepping up to that challenge?
Well, it's a bigger party for sure. I am so honored, to have been appointed to this position as a board member of the CNCA. And, it's just doing the same work, as with a larger group of people, so I just find it real exciting. I love, getting the work done, seeing what it is that people need, to grow their communities, to sustain their communities. Actually, that's kind of my biggest focus, and the biggest challenge of all the communities is sustainability. And that's not really something that has been addressed. They've been going on, these communities, for about 7 years. I know some are older, but that's kind of, the age right now. And so now is the time for us to, take it to another level. Everybody has done all that they could up to this point, and so now, okay, we're going to move in another direction. And I think that sustainability at this point is something that we really need to focus on.
So can you explain what is the CNCA for people who have no idea?
Oh, okay. Well, the CNCA was started about 7 years ago, and this is what I've been told, is that it was in response to, some of the fraudulent groups that were starting to surface across the United States. It was a way of, having an official connection to the Cherokee Nation in areas of large populations of Cherokee citizens. And that was important. So that way you would join this at-large satellite and you knew that it was official and and you were recognized by the Cherokee Nation. And, for people, that's really important. And so CNCA was created for that purpose, to help set up and oversee the satellite communities so that the citizens had a direct connection to the Cherokee Nation.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned sustainability. In what ways are the CNCA tackling that right now?
Well, right now we're working on, the CNCA is one of two nonprofit entities of the Cherokee Nation. The other is the Cherokee Nation Foundation, for education. And so the CNCA is a 501c3, and right now there are 22 separate at-large communities across the United States, and there are two more being formed, one in Washington, D.C., and the other one in Chicago. And so, in order to support the group and also to make it easier as far as, taxes and things like that, they can be chartered under the CNCA. So right now, we're working on getting this exemption process through, make it easier for their filing, and then they'll also be able to apply for grants, which is going to help with your sustainability. Because it's tough. Not everybody wants to pay dues to the local groups, but the local groups need, money in order to book venues, for printing costs, all kinds of costs, to continue to work.
Sure, right. Could you talk a little bit about your work in Chicago? Because you've recently moved to Chicago. How long ago was that?
About a year ago, yes.
And then did you know there was a Cherokee population?
Well, yes, I did. I've met lots of people that have family here, and it was right at the time that we were at the Northern California Cherokee picnic. And, everybody was there from the nation, and I was just hearing that we were going to move to Chicago. And so, the nation got excited about, having somebody there with experience and starting up an at-large satellite in the area, because they were going to focus on creating another at-large satellite community in Chicago. So that kind of worked out well, me being here, so I had the experience to get it started.
Oh, I see. And then, so once you got there, where did you go to finding these people?
Well, the Cherokee Nation did help, so I did get in contact with, a couple of people. The executive director of the Chicago Indian Center here is a Cherokee citizen. And, it took a little while. You actually need kind of, a big kickoff from the Cherokee Nation because, they have the mailing list of who the citizens are up here. But actually, through Facebook and Elmhurst College, the president is a Cherokee citizen. So to them, I was able to, make contact, and they helped me spread the news that we wanted to start a satellite community there. So that was kind of grassroots.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, so I was able to make some contact with people out here, and, the word kind of spread. And now the Cherokee Nation is coming next week, to do a kickoff.
Oh, wow.
Here. And then that's where we'll, get the broader contact of the citizens, not just, here in, the Chicagoland area, but, Illinois and Wisconsin and Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those areas. Yeah.
That's huge. And when you mentioned the college, it totally reminded me of, what we try to do here. We have a couple college members, and I think that is really the way to go. They're always seem to be hungry, looking for, this connection and kind of exploring that. I feel. I mean, I know when I was in college, one of the first people I met outside of my roommates was I went to the Native what do they call it, the Multicultural Center. This was up in Santa Cruz, and I met the director who was Native. His name was Dennis, and he was just so excited. I mean, I just kind of walked into his office. I had no idea, this 18-year-old kid, and he was like, "Oh, Cherokee, that's great. We're doing this luncheon on this date, and we're having a 5K on this date, and you got to get involved." And it was such a warm experience. It was really, in a lot of ways, my kickoff to diving into that Native community. Not only the Native community there, but seeing what can be done, and through those 4 years of university, it was, I was always popping in, and he would take me out to lunch, make sure, I was okay. And I definitely get that, or I got that sense of, belonging and that Native companionship, which I thought was hugely important and fueled whatever came after college with getting involved. So to bring it back around, I think colleges are definitely one of the best resources you can do for bringing people in. I mean, you get kids for the first time, they're out on their own, they're looking to get involved, and you just kind of got to be there, be at the right place at the right time. And that could be anything from universities. They have the powwows a lot in Southern California, so we always try to be there. Trying to have some kind of presence on campus, but I think that's huge, and it's cool to see that's happening across the country. I mean, in Chicago, that sounds like the perfect way to get going.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. That's one of the most exciting parts of organizing is the college students. Back in California, we had a really good relationship with Stanford, and still do, and also you see Berkeley and San Francisco State. And I hear from, I want to say kids, they're all adults now, and some of them have children, and they're all across the United States doing wonderful things, and so you still have that connection with them, and then they can network with each other, and it's just really phenomenal. That is one of the best parts of, organizing these groups and being a part of them is the whole networking, and it just keeps growing. And it's wonderful because, then everybody can help each other. My youngest daughter, Jessie, was looking, for a program, and some of those kids that I met at Stanford, they said, "Hey, what about this? I know this person," and the networking that people do for each other was amazing.
That's what it's all about. It's getting connected and establishing that sense of community. So that's great. Well, okay. I mean, is there anything that you'd like to leave the listener with?
It's just to come in and to give help, because every little bit of help in the community, it's so useful. I can't think of anything, outside of, my family and raising my children that's more fulfilling than, helping people, connect into the Cherokee community. It's just such a beautiful thing to be able to witness, and to see how it grows. I was in California, and I now know people across the entire United States.
Sure.
And beyond, Cherokees wanting to connect. We all have, that in common. All the other stuff is just commentary. We are Cherokees, and connecting them is good work.
Absolutely, right. And one of the best qualities I like about you, Jackie, is that you tend to supersede any politics, and you're always like I'm all about the people. I don't care, who's on top, going left or right or whatever. And I think we need more of that. I think that the at-large community cannot hit the refresh button every 4 years when somebody else comes in. And I really like that. And what you were talking about sustainability. I mean, to me, that's what sustainability is having leaders who can supersede politics.
Well, thank you. And I agree, because we're still going to, at the end of the day, the Cherokee people are still going to be here, and for all of us to bond and continue to move forward, we need to rise above that, and focus on, the work that we can do in our communities, and create relationships with each other. It's so easy to fall into the negative, and it's funny, it takes work to stay in the positive,
Sure.
But that's where everything moves forward. And I encourage all of us, to continue to move forward and to stay positive. I'm Cherokee, I know nothing else, but that all of my life. And these are my people, and it's just really good work. It really is.
Thank you, Jackie, for coming on board. Big Wado for sharing all your information and experience. I think anybody will be able to take away from this episode, especially if you're looking to get more involved in your community, whether or not it's native. She's a great example. So thank you for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Red Essay. Take care.